Going to do something a little different today. Not necessarily talk about up close and acoustic. I'm going to talk to you about what I did before I got into radio, not as a living, but as fun. I go to, and I always have gone to a lot of concerts. When I could drive, basically, I started going to shows. Skip ahead from 1983 to 1989 when I thought to myself, man, I love all these concerts. I wish I could take them home with me. And then I met a guy at the Chestnut Cabaret in Philadelphia, the long gone, lamented Chestnut Cabaret. Man, I miss it. But this guy sitting next to me at a Fairport convention show had a little recorder with him, with which he was recording an audio copy of the concert. And I said, I asked him, what are you doing? And he told me I'm recording the show. And I said, wow, Fairport at the time, oh, man, I was in love with Fairport Convention. I still love them, but I was in love with them then. I said, can I have a copy of it? And since he lived in Westchester at the time and I was going to school at Westchester, he ran by and put in my mailbox a copy on tape of a concert. And I thought, oh, I want to learn how to do that. I want to do that. So I saved up some money from my job working at Riverside Liquor. And I went to Silo. If you remember the store, Silo, it was basically appliances and what have you, but also electronics and that kind of stuff. And I bought a Walkman, but it was a Walkman that could record, not just play. And with that, before the days of going online, I would shop catalogs, and I saw in a catalog an external mic for exactly that kind of machine. So armed with that, I started a long history of bootlegging shows. Now, when I got into radio, I stopped that because I felt as if I would be taking advantage of people, even though I never traded shows that I recorded. I never sold shows that I recorded. I didn't share shows that I recorded. They were for me to enjoy again. I saw the show, I listened to the show, and then when I went home, I could listen to it again and again and again. And man, forget about buying stereo components like an equalizer and tape decks that could tape from one tape through the equalizer to another tape, so it really sounded good. And then taking a tape and putting it onto a CD through the same process, because I had eventually a CD recorder when they became available. But anyway, back to what I used to do. I'm not going to share the first show I recorded yet. Just to say, I did it. I did it a few times until I figured out how to do it fairly well. You had to learn how to know where to sit. You had to know who was around you and could you coax them into trying to be quiet, because everybody, to this day, everybody still talks at shows, drives me crazy. But back then it would drive me crazy because I was trying to bootleg the show and have a good copy for myself. So I just thought to myself, well, I'm going to try this. Also, I collect when I can. It's not always an option anymore, but I collect ticket stubs. And so to go along with the recordings that I made, I have the ticket stubs for the show, and it helps me remember the show, not just listening to the show, but the ticket stub. So this is a ticket stub from February 2nd, 1992 at the Trocadero in Philly. I went to see Robin Hitchcock. Here's the ticket. Yeah, there we go. It'll focus on that. And very cool. Now, I remember a lot of the things about the show because I have a recording of it. And it's a really good recording. It's one of those shows where it was so good. The recording is so good. I like putting it into my stereo which I still have. I just set up my stereo system again. And I like to turn it up, and it's like I'm in the theater again, in the Trocadero. I remember it for a few reasons. Now, one's a dopey reason. It has nothing to do exactly with the show, but it has to do with the host of the show. There are times during concerts where local DJs will be the host of the concert. If the radio station that has been playing this artist is sort of welcoming them to town, well, then a DJ from that radio station will introduce the show. This particular show, Robin Hitchcock at the Troc on February 2nd, 1992, was introduced by a DJ that I dearly loved. Her name was Karen Begin, and she worked at WXPN. I enjoyed her. I enjoyed her show. I thought she was fantastic. Tragically, and for the dumbest reason in the world, at least publicly the dumbest reason in the world, you know, something could have gone on behind the scenes. But the story, the official story was that she was fired because she lied on her resume to get the job at WXPN. Yes, maybe she padded a resume, maybe she lied, maybe she did this, that, or the other. Note, lots of people do that. And they don't often lose their job. So maybe there was another reason why Karen Begin lost her job. But I personally loved her as a DJ. And I can remember her being the host, introducing, I think Matthew Sweet opened that show. And then Robin Hitchcock came on and played the rest of the show, if I remember correctly. And I can remember her running late for the show and having to explain that she was caught in traffic on the way over. And I can remember somebody in the audience yelling, "Who cares?" It's on the recording. Anyhow, that was one memory from the show. But since I have the concert, I don't remember the visual exactly because I don't have the recording of the visual. It's all audio. But I can remember when Robin performed the song My Wife and My Dead Wife, he acted out the song on stage, like laying down and, you know, pretending he was the wife that was dying and, you know, reaching out and what have you. A fantastic memory. And that's because I have the ticket and I have the recording. Is there anybody else watching who has made a bootleg of a show and kept that show around forever? I mean, 1992, that's a long time ago now. And this has gone from tape to digital, to CD to digital. And I still own the show and I still love it. And I still love listening to Robin perform live. It's incredible. It's an incredible document of that time and that era of his career. Great stuff. I was just wondering, do people obsess about getting tickets? Do people obsess about sometimes maybe bootlegging a show? And I'm not talking about taking pictures with your camera phone, which are, you know, they're ubiquitous. Everybody has a camera phone. I'm not even talking about taking one or two videos of a show that you go to see, a concert that you go to see. I still occasionally take one video of one song at every concert I go to. I try not to abuse the privilege. I never share it with anybody for money or anything like that. Sometimes on social media, I'll share it because I want people to like the music I like. And nowadays, I think with this so prevalent, artists have a much more lackadaisical approach to how people save their shows. I haven't gotten any static for 2 decades about recording any kind of show. And this is before asking to record. This is before my career in radio. This is before my career as a podcaster and radio show host and producer. It's before all that. I still occasionally ask. I never just outright bootleg a whole show. And before I go, I have one more ticket I wanted to share because I remember this performance as well. Uh, this is at the Chestnut Cabaret. Love the Chestnut Cabaret. Miss it. This is for Big Audio Dynamite, the band that Mick Jones went on to form after the Clash, after he was forced out or left the Clash. When that show happened at the Chestnut Cabaret, it's another thing I remember because, let's see, I have the recording. It just so happened that right before that tour that Big Audio Dynamite did, Mick Jones almost died, I think, of pneumonia. So he was in the process of recovering from pneumonia right before this tour. And I can remember going with my friend Jim to see this at the Chestnut Cabaret and watching Mick Jones. They played a very short set, but it was great. I mean, he gave it his all. But by the end, he was gasping for air. I mean, I clearly remember this, gasping for air. And he said, "I'm sorry, that's all. Have a good night." And they left the stage. And I mean, I didn't feel bad. I felt bad for him. He was fulfilling his obligation. He played through having pneumonia. Maybe he had walking pneumonia at that point. He certainly did not look well that night, but he finished the show. Anyhow, I was wondering, is first of all, did anybody see that Big Audio Dynamite tour back in 1989, September of 1989? Or did anybody see the Robin Hitchcock tour in 1992? Very interested to hear that. Does anybody collect concert tickets? And does anybody have a library of bootlegs like Crazy Charlie does? Very interested. Please share in comments wherever you see this posted. I'm very interested. For now, thank you for listening. I thought it would be interesting to share some of my oddball collection of ticket stubs, of which there are many, and there are stories behind every ticket. If you want to hear more, let me know. If you want to hear less, I guess you should let me know that too. And do you have a collection of bootlegs, whether you made the bootlegs or whether you just are a person who collects bootlegs of shows? I'm interested to know that too. Anyhow, drop me a line, upcloseandacoustic@gmail.com. Leave comments whether you find this on YouTube or Instagram or possibly on TikTok, if this is short enough. Anyhow, thanks for listening. And thanks for hearing my goofy story. Maybe you sat through it. Maybe you thought, hey, that was me. Or maybe you thought, what a jerk, you're ripping everybody off. I swear I never sold any of these things, and I never even traded these things. It was always just for me. Anyhow, thanks for listening, and I'll see you again soon.